So welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for April 16th, 2025. We'll follow our agenda as was generated in the repo, GitHub issue number 1717. Before we get started, any announcements people would like to share?
I have a few announcements in terms of release. Node.js 22, we are still fighting with CI. Same applies to Node.js 20. So possibly both release will go out next week. Uh, Also, very important to mention that we still need help to land a V8 update to Node.js in order to make it for Node.js 24. So if you have any interest on helping us on that, please jump in.
Okay, for Node.js. Okay, any other announcements or news that people would like to share?
Have we announced about, or like, I don't know if we have made the decision, but it looks like we're going to switch to Clang on 24 because NSVC is kind of not really sustainable at this point.
Right, so move from on Windows moving to Clang, right?
Yes.
I think the
Or
decision has been made already.
yeah, we're like, there is no motivation to keep NSVC.
Yeah.
But this might impact add-on authors because, well, even with the NSVC build, it's already breaking add-ons in the SIGEM. We don't know whether the add-ons will be able to build with NSVC already, but since it's already not building with NSVC, might as well just go with Clang and then maybe fix Clang later.
And
I
are those non-Node API add-ons?
I don't know specifically why they're failing, but from the SIGEM run, the last SIGEM run, it looks like none of the 8 add-ons are building with either two chain
Okay.
with 13.0.
it very often I like what add-ons are because I am very. If you have the list, I can take a quick look. But if they
Uh,
are some of the ones that I fought against recently, they are just not well maintained and not using Node API and not using none of the new stuff. It's very
uh,
ancient.
they are just the standard ones in the lookup list in SIGEM. So I think in terms of add-ons, zero port and the usual some of them are not getting built in the CI. I don't know why. Like Bcrypt is in the list but not getting built in the CI. But I think level down, there are several there. They're just not building with 24, the current 24 branch. I think that's still using VA 13.0. Um, that's just broken. I haven't really looked into it yet. They might just get broken. But if they've been working with, for example, 23, that might be a separate issue, just like with VA, not necessarily with two chains.
Right, like are they only failing on Windows or are they failing on other platforms?
Everywhere, I think.
Yeah, so okay, so it's probably unrelated to using Clang or MSVC.
Yeah. Oh wait, I think we haven't actually run the whole system with the failures mentioned would all run on Windows. We haven't attempted to run this on other platforms yet because we're only investigating that. So, um, if there's already some work being done to prepare 24, it might be useful to at least run the Decision with the work in progress 24 branch to see if they are building on other platforms, or like on all the platforms that matter.
Uh, Joey, is only level down the problem or there are others?
Sorry, it's only what?
It's only level down the problem or there are others?
No, all the add-ons they are not building.
Oh,
Or I could not find in the log that any add-on is actually building. Or like
oh,
the no
oh,
jip success kind of I cannot find any signal. Maybe I'm missing anything, but I haven't found any that is actually
Okay.
building.
Okay. I think we're going to delay 24 then. I have a rough feeling.
I don't know whether that's because they need to be updated, which is fine because it's a major upgrade, then you will need to change your code somehow. But or whether that's something that we need to fix before we or like whether the fix will require some major thing. That's something that I do not know because we just don't know why they're failing. Uh but I guess uh, in terms of pros and cons, I would prefer that we just ship it, ship with ceiling 24 and try to figure out the story later instead of ship with NSVC and try to figure out how to make NSVC work for these add-ons. Because it's not very sustainable to continue supporting NSVC at this point. So no matter what's the situation, my preference would be to my recommendation would be let's just ship it, just switch and then figure out how to fix them.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm good with that. I'm good with that approach. Like I'm good with we should be switching 100%. Okay. Windows
And I
on
think
MFCC is not tenable.
that's the recommendation from the Microsoft team as well, right? So
Yeah, I guess just as an FYI, there might be a huge breakage of add-ons in 24, but not sure where where the problem lies yet.
right. Okay. Any other announcements? Okay, if not, remember to nominate people for the contributor spotlight. The person who was managing that is back at the at the foundation, so hopefully we can maybe actually do one of those in the next little while. So just a reminder that we have there to nominate. Otherwise, moving to the issues that are in tag for the agenda. So the first one is related to access to LinkedIn. That one I did follow up. I followed up a few times. I followed up and with Ben, and he's added Kylie, who's now back. So I think we should give another week or so to see what Kylie says on that issue. Let's see. The deadlock at process shutdown. That one, I don't know if anybody has an update or
No updates.
no updates. Okay. I guess the one thing we could consider is there's been some funding that's come in through the crowdfunding accounts. And so we might consider, like, if we want to use, it's not a huge amount, but like if there, it's a small amount, that there's somebody we could pay to look at that. If that made any sense, that might be an option. But I'll just throw that out and we can think about that and maybe talk about next time. Go ahead.
Well, it's not. So far, okay, just to clarify, to count. Whoa. Okay. Just a second. So we got a significant enough payout. So I think there is some money we can spend actually.
Yeah, that's what I said. I looked a couple weeks ago and there was one significant donation, which means we've got, I don't know, when I looked, it was 5,000 or 6,000, like in that range. So.
Yeah, thank you. I want to stay private, but I thank you to the anonymous donor that donated significant lump of money to the project.
Well, definitely, and we still need to figure out like how we promote and thank people who do that. So
no, but they wanted to be private, so
they want to be private. Okay.
They don't care. So we are a generous donor. We love the generous donor.
Yep.
Okay. And which is fun that it came in this way. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, we have a bunch of money. So To be honest, we could. I can ask. We can ask the CPC or the Robin directly how to disburse that amount, and then if somebody and just start drafting our RFP. Essentially, I think.
Yeah, I think the way it should be is
Oh,
that
was it related to GitHub Secure? I have no idea. Rafael is asking, is related to GitHub? It's not GitHub, but
Okay, just because I don't know how they are going to do that. I don't have information. We took the course, but I remember
it might
they.
be. It might that be.
so we can figure. Yeah, that would be worth figuring out because maybe that's.
We need to figure that out. Can you ask?
Yeah, I can ping it in.
So yeah, so I think we can figure that out. We can also then start to figure out what an RFP would look like in terms of the you're asking about how we would actually disperse it. My understanding is, well, I worked with the Ben to have both both of our accounts are set up so that it will be deposited into the foundation account.
Yeah.
And then basically we just need to tell them, how we want to spend it, and they will pay it out to the right person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just looking. Anyway, okay, let's move on to the next thing there. Discuss possibly using funding to have Okay. The next one, feed supporter page and updated homepage. There's no update on that. We're just waiting on the board for a proposal. The next one, new meeting times. So with all the time zone changes settled, and also just me taking a few more weeks to get back to it, I ran the tools. Basically, I've ran it with 2 or 3 times because we used to use 3, now we use 2, but I think the I see room. One person suggested 3, another person suggested 2. I do understand that managing 3 times is harder, but on the flip side, I also know that in terms of if we do 2 time zones, the 2 best time zones are kind of grouped fairly close together, so they may not give an opportunity to some people. So my take would be we should probably go with the 10, 15, and 18 UTC, which makes the 10 one very hard for people on the Pacific coast. And even I think that's before I get up. But then the other 2 are good for
We
those.
will, Michael, we will essentially switch back into EU TSC meeting, EU time TSC meeting, which will be
Yeah.
chaired by me and or
Yeah.
some other folks in the EU, depending on availability.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the others move easily. And then there is one later on, which is the essentially America's time zone.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is essentially very hard for people in the EU, especially one with kids. And then there is one where we all meet together every 3 weeks.
Right. So that's 10, 15, and 18. So
Now this is the point.
yeah.
We are essentially moving to we have a meeting that is we try to meet everybody every 3 weeks. That's the only problem that I see with that setup. I am okay with it. Okay, I'm just flagging that what will happen is we can try, but the other times we tried, that was what happened essentially. So
Right.
which is not a bad idea, to be honest. So I'm relatively good about that.
So I don't know if anybody has any objections for us going to the 3, and like you said, Matteo, yeah, I would need you to host the early one, and we can see how that goes. Okay, well, if nobody has an objection, I'll say let's go for that. So I'll say we discussed in the meeting, and Michael will set up for the 3 new times. Okay, I will do that. And if we find that like it's not working or something, we can always readjust. Okay. Okay. And then let's talk about the CI situation. I don't think there's any update or anything like on that. No updates on that front.
I've asked Brian if he could find someone who would come to the TSC meeting, and if we invite Robin as well, we could make some progress on adding the Datadog tool to help us like to figure out which tests are flaky. Basically, we've talked about it at the collaboration summit in Dublin and in Paris. And
Okay.
it seems that yeah, it needs foundation approval. So
Is there
In terms of,
Antoine?
go ahead.
all right.
Sorry, is there a tracking issue? I probably missed it.
Yeah, it'd be
Well,
good
let's talk
if
about
there
this.
was an issue we could add to the TSC.
Like a specific one.
Yeah, like because then we can put it on the TSC agenda and we can then invite, Brian and Robin to come for that specific meeting.
Sure.
Um,
Go ahead, Joey.
yeah, I remember we added integration, or maybe some other product proposed to add integration for Jenkins. I wonder what's the there was a proposal. I think it's called Pulse something. Jenkins, no, not Jenkins, like something, some build Pulse or something.
Yeah,
That also does the same thing, but I wonder what's the result of that, or is anyone looking at that?
I don't think we looked at it. I thought like my earlier recollection of the discussion was that like the reliability reports that Joey had actually did a pretty decent job of capturing what's flaky. But I don't know what the Datadog tool would add in terms of like maybe it does something that completely different or
I'm not sure either, but I would provide it to us for free, so it seemed like a
Seems
no-brainer to take advantage of it.
so maybe like creating an issue that says like proposal to add this with a little bit of details to like what information or what it would provide in terms of helping to investigate.
Okay, yeah, I can maybe ask
Okay,
Brian for detail and to open the issue.
sounds good. Okay, so I'm gonna say Antoine will ask Brian to create issue with proposal. Then we can discuss in future TSC as appropriate. Sounds good. Okay, that takes us to the strategic initiatives. Let me just pop over there. Okay, so Antoine, anything on core promises?
No, nothing this week.
Okay. Okay. Joey, anything on startup snapshot?
We did a migration for the VA 13.6 upgrade, but it's part of the upgrade.
Okay. Next one. I know there was a good discussion at the Collaborator Summit on the survey that we're planning to send out. We did discuss it in the meeting immediately before this, went through a whole bunch of feedback, incorporated it. And the plan is for, I think, Marco to get the questions to Kylie next week sometime. So hopefully that will be going out soon. So I'll just take a quick note on. Okay, and then Darshan, anything on single executable applications?
We had some discussion in the collab summit, but that was it. No updates since then.
Okay. Okay, and I think that takes us to the end of the list of for people who are here, the strategic initiatives. That takes us to the end of the agenda. So is there anything else that we should chat about before we go to a short private session? If not, thank you for everybody who's watching on the live stream and for everybody's time. I'm going to just stop the stream here.